On a recent evening out, after a few cocktails, I let slip a comment to my husband that I now bitterly regret, and it's left our marriage teetering on the edge. To provide some background, my husband and I first met as teenagers, both employed at the same call center. There was no spark between us back then. He went off to college, while I stayed at the job until I finished high school. 5 years later, fate brought us together again, we began dating, and eventually tied the knot. Now we're parents to 2 young children. Today he's 27 and I'm 25. Last fall, roughly 6 months after our second child was born, I started a new birth control pill. It came with strange side effects, one of which completely erased my desire for physical closeness. My husband would try to initiate intimacy, but I kept brushing him off. After 2 weeks of rejection, he stopped making advances. When a week went by without any attempt from him, I lashed out, demanding, "Why haven't you tried to be close lately?" Our first proper date night since the baby's birth came shortly after. We stopped by a bar near our home for a few drinks. Under the influence, I confessed to my husband that I felt a heavy guilt, as though I'd betrayed him. Understandably shocked, he pressed me to explain. I revealed a dream I'd had the week before about a former coworker from our call center days. In the dream, this man admitted he had feelings for me, and I reciprocated. Then, in a thoughtless move, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through this man's social media profile right in front of my husband, commenting on trivial details, and even mocking the hands of a woman pictured with him. As if that weren't damaging enough, I went on to talk about a brief romance I'd had with this man after my husband left for college. I described how he used to playfully tease me in my husband's presence, and recounted a heated moment when he pressed me against a wall, admitting how much it had thrilled me. I even blurted out that perhaps I brought it up because I longed for my husband to ignite that kind of passion in me. The next morning, my husband was livid, not just about my drunken confessions, but about my behavior over the past month. He was wounded by my lack of interest in intimacy with him for weeks, only to see me fixate on another man's profile while reminiscing about past encounters. In hindsight, his anger deepened when I offered to be intimate right then, as if to fix things. He exploded, saying, "Your body's been off limits for a month, but one night of talking about this guy and his antics gets you in the mood?" Reflecting now, I understand why he felt so betrayed, especially since he'd harbored feelings for me back when we first met, but never acted on them. Over the past 6 months, we've had fleeting moments of calm where life feels almost normal. But those careless words I spoke inevitably resurface, sparking intense arguments. My husband spirals into doubts, convinced I settled for him because he finished college, secured a stable job, and the other man was no longer an option. He's haunted by the fear that, given the chance, I'd betray him with this former coworker, and it's tearing our marriage apart. When he later asked why I even mentioned that man, I explained it was because that time in my life made me feel vibrant and self-assured. Back then, I was at my lightest weight and happiest. Over the years, I've gained about 75 pounds, and my husband now believes I've stayed with him out of despair, while the other man represents a time when I felt truly alive. Now my husband has grown distant, emotionally withdrawn, and barely speaks to me. His touch has vanished, and we haven't been intimate in nearly 2 months. His detachment even affects our children. I love him deeply, but he's convinced my heart belongs to someone from 8 years ago. At one point, he even said he wished I'd ended up with that man so he wouldn't be enduring this pain now. I don't want our marriage to end, but I can't keep living like this. I'm desperate to restore the connection we once had. When my husband dwells on the past, he fixates on the idea that this other man experienced my younger, freer, more passionate self, while he's been left with the burdens of marriage, parenthood, bills, and a lackluster intimate life. He's tormented by the thought that I was more ardent with someone else. He even said, "Do you think that guy is scrolling through your profile, pining for how incredible you were? Especially now, with the weight you've gained? He wouldn't even notice you." I've tried to make it clear that I have no feelings for this other man. That my comments were about how I felt about myself back then, confident and desirable, qualities I've struggled to reclaim. I've apologized countless times, vowing to make things right. For brief moments he seems reassured, but then the doubts creep back, and the fights flare up again. We've been together for 7 years, raising 2 children, and the thought of our marriage crumbling over this is unbearable. I've worked hard to prove my commitment. I've stopped mentioning the other man, removed him from my social media, and only discuss him when my husband insists. I've also started exercising with my husband to improve my health and show my dedication. Yet our intimacy remains erratic, heavily tied to whether he's brooding over the issue. During one heated argument, he brought up my weight gain, saying cruelly, "Do you honestly think that guy would give you a second look now? You're so different from back then." The words cut deeply, as I'm already hyper-aware of how my body has changed after 2 pregnancies. In these fights, he dredges up every detail I've shared. How I once called the other man attractive, his height, 3 inches taller than my husband, his dark hair. He even obsesses over the fact that this man was my boss, which I admitted added to his appeal back then. I've reassured him repeatedly that it was a fleeting moment of nostalgia, a lapse in judgment. Since we began our relationship, that man has meant nothing to me. But even small actions, like liking one of his social media posts, have escalated into major conflicts. When I foolishly shared another dream about this man after the initial fallout, it only deepened the wound. My husband keeps asking if I still fantasize about that man, or if I even find him attractive anymore. I've assured him countless times that my love and desire are for him alone. But the pain seems too entrenched. I stood with my arms crossed tightly, my voice sharp with defiance. "So you're turning this on me now?" Eric slumped into a chair, looking utterly broken, as if the weight of our struggles had finally overwhelmed him. He twisted the cap off a water bottle, taking a slow sip before speaking. "Imagine needing to vanish for a whole day just to find some peace. Think about that." A lump formed in my throat, but I fought to hide it. My voice trembled with frustration. "Don't you dare flip this around. I see what you're doing, playing the victim to guilt me." He leaned back, his face a mask, his words slicing deeper than I wanted to admit. "All these years, I thought my role was to shield you from life's stresses. I never imagined I'd need to protect myself from you." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. I struggled to respond, finally managing a shaky, "Are you finished?" Eric nodded, standing slowly, his movements heavy with purpose. "Yeah, I'm finished." Without another word, he walked into the bedroom, leaving me rooted to the spot, his words echoing relentlessly in my mind. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay in the dark, scrolling aimlessly on my phone to escape my thoughts. A video appeared, a relationship expert discussing men and their silence. "Men often carry their burdens quietly," he said gravely. "They don't seek help, they withdraw." I rolled my eyes and scrolled on, but his words clung to me like a persistent shadow. The next morning, Eric was gone. No note, no message, just an empty driveway where his car should have been. My chest tightened as I typed a message. "Leaving without a word? Real mature, Eric." I sent it and waited. No response. The kids' voices echoed through the house as they got ready for school, but my nerves were raw. Logan, our 6-year-old, tugged at my sleeve. "Mommy, can you tie my shoes?" he asked softly, his patience piercing me. "Not now, Logan," I snapped, barely glancing at him. From the next room, Emma, our 9-year-old, whined. "I can't find my tablet." "Emma, if you keep crying about that tablet, I'm going to lose it," I shouted, my voice harsher than I meant. Logan stood silently, his wide eyes, so like Eric's, watching me. Something in his gaze stirred guilt in me. I exhaled, kneeling to tie his shoes. By early afternoon, Eric texted back, "I'll be back later. Don't wait up." My heart raced as I read it. I called him immediately. When he answered, his voice was icy distant. "What's that supposed to mean?" I demanded. "Don't wait up." "It's exactly what it sounds like," he said flatly, hanging up before I could reply. That evening, Eric returned late, far later than usual. He moved deliberately, placing his keys on the counter, hanging his jacket over a chair, all in silence. I watched him, anger simmering beneath my skin. He glanced at me briefly, his face not angry or tired but empty. "Done sulking?" I asked, my tone sharper than intended. He sighed, a low, weary sound that carried a weight I couldn't fully grasp. "I'm tired, Claire," he said softly. Something in his voice tightened my chest. It wasn't the kind of fatigue sleep could cure. I crossed my arms, refusing to soften. Yeah, well, I'm tired too. You think this is easy for me? He didn't bite back, no sharp retort or sarcasm. Instead, he just looked at me, his gaze long and searching, leaving me unsettled. That's the problem, he said quietly. I don't think you even know what you want. But I do now. His words hit like a blow, deliberate and piercing. What's that supposed to mean? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. He didn't answer.